Hey everybody, this is Matt with Option Omega. Welcome to Option Omega Backtesting. This video is intended for people who are new to the platform, and what we're going to do is go through the different parts of the Backtester. We've had so many changes and improvements since launch that we've had older videos that are kind of a 101 type video, but we wanted to update it just with some of the newer features that we've added. Before we get started, I will tell you this. There are a couple ways to engage with us. Social media, Facebook, etc., Twitter, whatever. We have all that. But the best place to get information about the Backtester and the most active community is on Discord. I will drop a link below in the box, or you can go to our website, optionomega.com. If you click on Discord in the upper right-hand corner, this button right here. So click on that. It will take you to the Option Omega Discord server. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is, this is just the basic app with nothing open, nothing going on. If you need to make changes to your account, you can click on this button. These buttons over here will take you to the various social platforms. We also have written documentation. If you click on documentation, that will take you to the written documentation, which, as you can see, is quite extensive. It is being constantly updated, so keep an eye on that. Now, let's get started and look at what the app does and how to navigate it. We're going to click on New Backtest. That's going to open up our main screen that we interact with here. As you can see, it's pretty overwhelming if you have never used a Backtester before, but we've made it as simple as possible while still trying to keep it feature robust. So the first thing we're going to look at is the states feature. Okay. If you look at it, it's really just two boxes where you can enter a starting date and an ending date. We also have pre-selected various bubbles. One of the things that we found based on feedback from the community is a lot of people get into backtesting, think they have the perfect strategy. It will work for any market. It will work for any situation. And what they realize is it's good for a certain type of market, a certain time, a certain element, a certain aspect season that we're in for trading. So what we've done is we've pre-selected a couple of different time frames. So we're just going to use year to date. So if I click the year to date button, it will bring that up. If I wanted to edit that, it's pretty easy to edit. You can type over, you can use the calendar selector, whatever. So I just backed it up to beginning of December 2021 just to show you. The next thing we're going to do is look at the ticker selector. We've got 4 tickers right now that are coming up. The main 3 volume symbols, the high volume symbols, the main 3 symbols that get a lot of volume on them are SPX, SPY, and QQQ. We've got them all. Pretty much every day you look at the market, those are the top 3 by options volume. We also have IWM. So we're covering the 3 big indices that people trade options on. The Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. So we're going to do SPX. And the next thing we're going to do is look at the strategy selector. So we've got a bunch of pre-created strategies. So if you're an iron condor person, we got it pre-selected. If you want to do calendars, double calendars, butterflies, so pretty advanced strategies. We also just have simple ones. If you want to buy a put, you want to buy a call, you want to short a put, those are all in here. What we're going to look at today is a short put spread. So this is going to be right here. It's a 2-leg strategy. Now, we do have the ability to modify these trades, and you can also make custom trades. So if you wanted to, you can add up to 4 custom legs. You could come up with your own strategy. We've got a whole nother video that we will link below on custom strategies. But again, for today, we're just going to do short puts. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 2-day puts right here. Okay. And by default, it comes up as a 25 wide. We're going to change that to 30 wide. This is interesting because I'll show you a couple other the defaults that are pre-selected. Pre-selected, we have these legs joined, so they're going to be in relationship to each other. There are 4 different ways that you can choose your strike. We're going to do delta, which is common for people who are doing mechanical type trading. So we're choosing a 30 delta put that we're going to sell. The second leg, the plus or minus, is always in relationship to the first leg. So for instance, if we wanted to sell an at the money put spread, we could choose percentage out of the money, enter 0, and it will still pick a 10 wide, which we can of course change if we wanted to do 5 wide or 50 wide or 100 wide. We could do any of those. So right now we're going to stick with delta. These are the other ways. You can also do an offset or a premium, but we're going to stick with delta for now. Again, this is a 101 type video, and there are other videos that go into some of these more exotic options. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to stick with use exact DTE. So we're going to leave that checked. What that is going to do is that's going to ensure that we're only doing these 2 days out. Now that we've gone through the strategy selector and the date picker, let's move on to funds and allocation. We're going to keep this pretty simple in this video, but essentially we're going to use the defaults of 100K for starting funds and 20% margin allocation. What this does is this is simulating an account that's going to allocate $20,000 to this trade. So that is how it is going to determine the number of contracts. We have a couple more advanced options right here with max, open trades, and prune oldest trades, which are typically used by people who may be selling something every day. Maybe every day they put on something that's 30 days out and they want to only have 5 open at a time, and they want the oldest one to fall off. That's kind of what these options are for. Max contracts per trade is super useful though. And especially some of the back tests, especially if you find one that's very successful, can get to a very high number of contracts. Depending on your deltas, how far out of the money you are, you may find that that's not realistic to what you think would be the real life kind of trade of that. Remember, this is a historical backtester. This is not a trade simulator or anything else. This is backward looking. It's not forward looking. So what you can do with this is you can cap your contracts. So I don't think we'll get to this, but let's just say we're going to cap this at 100 SPX contracts per trade. So we're going to change the entry time. And now we're in entry conditions, as you can see. We're going to enter at 11 a.m. So avoiding hopefully a little bit of the morning chop. And this is a really key choice right here. You can choose the frequency. We've got basically as customizable as you want. What we're going to do is we're going to just trade these on Mondays. Okay, so Mondays, a lot of people, it's kind of a broad belief that a lot of folks have Mondays are a good idea to buy options. And since we're selling a put credit spread, but because it's a bullish trade, it's goes along with that kind of way of thinking that a lot of folks have. Now, let me just highlight, if you want to do something specific, like if you only wanted to trade after OPEX, like the Monday after OPEX, you could do that here. You would select the monthly option. You can get very granular. Also, we have a whole nother video, but if you are somebody who has a type of trade that you only want to put on when Jerome Powell speaks, or you want to put it on 2 days before an FOMC meeting, or you want to put it on when Mercury is in retrograde, you can do that. This is specific dates. And we have a whole nother video that we will link about specific dates, but you can get extremely specific. So we're going to go back to just choosing Monday. And now we're going to leave the rest of these blank, but I'll run through them real quick. So VIX is pretty self-explanatory, but if you choose this, you can gate VIX to where it will only put on trades when VIX is above or below or in between certain numbers. We also have several technical indicators. We've got RSI, we've got SMA. So the SMAs, we have a bunch of them, as you can see. These are all the ones that have been commonly requested and a couple others. And for RSI, we use a simple smoothing. It's 1 minute interval and it's 14-day length. So that question comes up sometimes because there are different RSIs floating around. That's what we're using. as a side note, if you look at the little eye, an info bubble right next to a lot of these choices here, that will give you instant documentation. It will give you an instant explanation of what you're looking at. So that is useful, as you can see, and all we have it from pretty much a lot of the choices here. You can get, if you have a question about what it does, you can get instant answers. We're going to look at gaps here real quick. I'm not going to go into this. We have a whole nother video on gapping that I will link. But between gaps and intraday movement, you can choose to gate the trade to where it's put on or not put on when you have a certain move, either intraday or overnight. We've got a bunch of different choices. You can get really specific with that. We also have the three most popular, most common squeeze metrics. So we've got the DIX, the GEX, and the GXV. Again, those are pretty advanced features that a lot of folks might not even know what they are. If you go to squeezemetrics.com, you can see white papers and you can see details. They are extremely popular for dark pools and gamma. We're making progress. Now that we've looked at the entry conditions, we only have two big sections left: exit and miscellaneous. So in our trade, remember, we're looking at being short a put spread. So it's a bullish trade. We're going to look to take this off at 75% profit. We are not going to have a stop loss on it. Let's just run it like this. And these other options, we're going to leave blank. These are more advanced options. So you can choose to exit early. You can choose to exit on a technical exit with technical indicators, so using TA. You can choose to exit based on the movement of the short leg, which a lot of people use for things like condors or maybe even a calendar or diagonal. And you can also do it when the price moves a certain amount. So those are the exit conditions. If you choose stop loss, we have a bunch of super advanced options: trailing stop losses, adjustable stop losses, per leg stop losses. I'm not going to go into all that right now. We have videos and resources on those as well. We are going to touch on a couple things in miscellaneous. So we're going to choose commissions and fees, and we're going to put in kind of a standard value that a lot of folks use. That's self-explanatory. You can make these whatever you want. We're also going to put in a little bit of slippage, 5 cents either side. And these other options are super useful. So ignore trades with wide bid-ask spread. We're not going to use that here. What that does is there are people who are testing really far out of the money positions. There may not be great liquidity on those, just like in real life. So we're using 1 minute historical data here. So that's what that option does for people. Close open trades on test completions, pretty self-explanatory. If you're running a test and you have an open trade, that'll close it for you. Okay, let's look at this next option. Cap non-opening profits at profit target. What this does is it will cap your intraday profits at your profit target. So intraday, during the day, even if it moves higher than that in a 1 minute time frame, because we're using 1 minute data, as it's likely you would probably have a limit order in place that will exit the trade as soon as your profit target is reached. So we're going to leave it off, but that's what that does. Require 2 consecutive hits at the profit target. So what this does, it's also available for stop loss, is this requires the tester to have the exit condition met 2 consecutive time periods in a row. So since we're using 1 minute data, the first minute that the condition is met, the tester will then look ahead and see if it's also met the next minute. If it is, it will close the trade. If it's not, it will keep it open. I want to be clear that you're still closing it on the first minute. It's just a way of beating up the trade. And sometimes if you've traded for a long time, you may get a fill that you don't understand. This is sort of a way of simulating the tester to be a little bit more conservative and a little bit safer, beating up the trade even more. Min, exit, and entry premium is useful for some people that want to target a certain amount of credit. A lot of Condor people use this. Short-long ratio is another more exact, more advanced option. We're going to leave that blank. Blackout days is the complement to the specific dates whitelisting, which we found under frequency right there. We're not going to use that today. Again, we have a whole nother video. And re-enter trades after exit is another option we're not going to use today. We have another video on that as well. But that is useful for a lot of people, a lot of folks who use that. Most of them are doing 0 day. So they're doing a position and then they may be out of the position, but they want to put it on again if market conditions are what they want it to be. So they check that. So now that we've gone through the whole tester, let's do the most exciting thing. We're clicking run and we're going to watch it work. Now, I didn't even have time to explain it. We're in so fast, but if you want to cancel the test, you can. And wow, this strategy is done shockingly well. This has been since last December's when we tested it. So, here is the results screen. The first thing we're going to look at is if you like this test, if you like 142% CAGR and 37% drawdown, 85% win rate, and you think, that's worth playing around with, you can click this button here to save it. And we're just going to call this 2DTE PCS Monday and click save. Now, that's how you save it. If you want to get even more advanced, you can click share test with others, save, and then this button here will copy it and you can send it to another Option Omega subscriber. If they are logged into their account, they can look at the test and they can edit it and play with it and try to make it even better, send it back to you. Now, if you have run this test, if you click new backtest, it's going to load everything that we just ran. By default, you don't have to type it in again. So say you want to play with this and say, okay, you want to start testing profit targets and you think, okay, I think actually 50% might help me avoid this 37% drawdown. So we're going to readjust it. And you know what? It does. Now you still have a couple big drawdowns here, but that, changing the profit target made a difference. Now, let's look at this screen and we're going to go through what a couple of the definitions are and what a couple of the data points are on the results screen. We've designed the results screen to be as self-explanatory as possible, but we'll still run through a few things. It's got some really helpful information. We've got what we traded, when we traded it, what the trade was. We have the entry and exit conditions and any miscellaneous choices that we have. We have the total P&L, what the CAGR was, what the worst drawdown was, which by default will load a graph. So you can look at it and a lot of times you can see if it's a really bad drawdown, your win rate, your premium, your capture rate. These are all self-explanatory, what your max winners and losers were, how long you were in the trade, how many trades you did, etc., etc. So if you look down here, you will see matched up how your return did. We also look at the drawdown as well. So it shows you both your return and your maximum drawdown here. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the trade log. And this is super helpful. The trade log is increasingly customizable. If you click on this settings, you can add certain items and add them to the trade log. So like if max loss is super important to you, like you want to avoid max losses, you can make that the third thing after P&L. So if you just click apply, boom, it tells you what your max loss is. Okay. If you don't want to see it, you can hide it and I'll go back. You can also sort by a variety of things. You can do it ascending and descending, and you can filter it, just look at the winners. What a lot of people do is they just look at the losers and say, okay, what were the common things that caused me to lose? And is there anything I can do to tweak the test to make it more robust? We're also going to look at this right here. This is super handy. You can export your test to CSV, which is the common file format that things like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets or iOS, they all have a CSV program that's very popular. Once you export to CSV, you can get very granular. You can model out the trade. You can make more visual things. You can do whatever you want with the data that you have exported in the CSV file. So that is kind of a run through of a basic test, how to pick the conditions that you want. We ran through what a lot of the different choices were. Again, we've got more detail on all of this, but this will hopefully help get you started. Thank you again for checking out the Option Omega Backtester.